And there's the butt.
It's Leroy!
Roses, yes. He supposes his toes are roses, but he supposes erroneously. There we go. Now I don't sound like I'm going to kill people. I hope that's a little better.
I liked it. You didn't have to change a thing. It sounded good.
I did need to change it. Otherwise, I'll end up standing up and exhorting about the glory of destroying the world. Let's not go there. Welcome all once more to another story time with Magnanix. I hope you all enjoy the show. Let us talk of what happened last time. Last time, our hero Rimuru attended the battlefield just in the nick of time to save the lizard folk before they were all undoubtedly destroyed by the Orc Lord's army. Whilst fighting, his different minions destroyed sections of the field with gloriously overpowered spells, one of which was Hellflare, created by his young minion Benimaru. It was a combination of his fire manipulation, barrier spells, and black lightning. It decimated the field. The second one was by Ranga, a simple howl that caused a tempest of destruction. Quite aptly named. I don't remember what it was called, but I'm sure it was cool. He destroyed many orcs himself, too. And then there was the giant blade swinger. I've already forgotten her name. I'm such a bad storyteller. Destroying half of the field as well. They then fought the Orc Lord, and Rimuru for once was getting excited, for this person posed an actual challenge to him. He then didn't kill him quick enough, and he evolved. So he had an even better fight on his hand. But in the end, as they were trying to consume each other, it turned out that Rimuru, who was a slime, was born to eat, as that little statue at the front kind of shows. He was born to consume. The Orc Lord merely ate. And he therefore destroyed the Orc Lord without much difficulty. We now return after they have created the Great Alliance of the Jura Forest, which includes the Treants, the Lizardmen, the remainder of the Orcs, and the Goblins, led by Rimuru himself. I've got the voice stuck again.
Thank you.
Here we go. Chapter 43, War Reparations. Actually, I think I've read this one. No, I haven't. The day the coalition was established would become a day of great commemoration for the monsters, because each one of them received a name. Ha, just kidding. Even if it sounds cool, you've got to think about who would be giving them those names. There's 150,000 of them, damn it. That's just reckless. I mean, I had gone into a 3-day hibernation after naming merely 500 goblins. By the time I name all 150,000, they died from hunger. I was planning to just ignore it this time, but in any case, I also need to devour their sins. And somehow, while they had risen up to rank C+, it seems that they'll be returning back to D in about 2 weeks. They were merely strengthened by the Orc Lord's abilities. And once they lose their magic energy, I will eat it and bestow it back upon them. Thus, I will be able to name them without tiring needlessly. So there is no problem in naming them, except that I'll run out of simple letter combinations. Even if I start giving out the same names in different districts, managing the process will be a pain. There's only one thing to do, the most extreme and supreme method. I will name them based on a series with infinite potential. That's right, numbers. Sounds too much like a citizen's registration number? Well, frankly, this is the most efficient method. Since they are able to at least line up in formation, I had them line up in the marshes. Would they hate being named on a whim? I had that passing thought, but once the magical energy disappears, they'll devolve into an uncontrollable mob of 150,000. That's too many to let loose. Being only D rank, they wouldn't pose much of a threat. However, I can see them breaking into private property. Besides, as they are, I can't expect much from their work skills, making the coalition rather pointless. Also, if they evolve, their status increases, and their reproductive ability decreases. That much we know from the time I named the goblins. Thus, I will be exercising the victor's rights here. The great clans shall be separated by their names. Yama, meaning mountain. Oka, meaning hill. Hora, meaning cave. Umi, meaning sea. Kawa, meaning river. Ko, meaning lake. Mori, forest. Kusa, grass. And Suna, sand. For example, a man from the mountains would be called Yama 1N. A woman would be Yama 1F. That's how I would diversify their names. Honestly, managing this will still be a pain. For kids, I decided to go with something like Yama 1-1M. For example, perhaps it would be more appropriate to give them some name or letter combination instead, but I'll leave that to them for new names. And thus, I absorbed their magical energy and gave them names instead. I first aligned them by clan, then separated them by gender, and began giving them names. As you'd expect, it took quite a while. However, I was able to give them all names without worrying endlessly. They were given names by their place in line. I didn't try to match names for parents and children. They should just name themselves if unsatisfied. In this fashion, I went on naming them all. I then had the clan representatives conduct a census. But since they had no paper, it was only to make sure no mistakes were made. But in reality, there was nothing to worry about. Those named could hardly forget it. Unlike humans, monsters always know the name etched on their soul. I thus started to give each one of them a name. God damn, this is poorly written. I thus started to give each one of them a name, taking no more than 5 seconds per person. However, giving each one a name still took 10 days. Of course, while I was naming them without rest, I couldn't just have Benimaru and the rest having fun. I had the Dryad trainee escort them to the Treants community in order to transport the food. Would it really be enough to feed 150,000? While I had such worries, I could only trust in her words. At the very least, I hope there is enough to last them a year. I didn't worry about the carriers at all. The fundamental worry of war is logistics, after all. Allowing the front line to starve welcomes defeat. No matter how much of a demon each one of them is, carrying enough food for all the orcs must be difficult. However, the Storm Wolves, the moment Ranger had evolved into a Tempest Starwolf, had evolved into Star Wolves. Each one is at least a B rank now, a high-ranking monster. Their numbers are still at 100, but they have unlocked a Star Leader evolution variation. And let's not forget to mention that they can all use Shadow Step now. They can't move instantaneously like Zoe or Ranger do, but they can easily move faster than sound. And they now move ignoring any obstacle, straight to their targets, closing long distances with every step. They are moving at 3 times their original speed. In short, really quickly. So I also had the strong Star Wolves handle ferrying over provisions. If we used a carriage, the trip, with a necessary detour, would take 2 months. This way, though, a round trip only takes a day. However, the Goblin Riders cannot journey with them. I don't know if this is something they can learn through practice, but I want them to try. So having remained with me, the goblins are helping arranging the orcs. Thus, we came up with a method to procure food, which led me to worry about food reserves. I mean, treants are monsters who survive on water and sunlight and air alone. They would grow fruits using their magical energy, but there was no one to eat them. They were meant for the race residing in the Holy Lands, but the immortal race just had them accumulate. Moreover, the fruit being magical, it does not rot no matter how much time passes. By the way, as I learned later, this fruit is sold as a rare ingredient called dried treant in human markets. It's really hard to find and can be sold for a large amount of money. The reason for the price is its abundant magical energy. Just 1 drop can keep you going for 7 days without feeling any hunger. Another reason for the high price is the fact that the treants don't interact with other races, and the troublesome dryads, who manage this product, give it out sometimes as a present. When I learned this fact, I had mild regrets about giving it out to the orcs for free, but it is what it is. And thus, thanks to the dryad trainee's guidance, we were able to acquire food. 10 days later, exhausted, I finished. I almost ran out of numbers to use. Tired. However, I was also filled with a sense of accomplishment. 150,000. Just counting that high is annoying. Well, by the time I finished naming them, we also finished dividing up the food. 50 pieces each. But they probably understand that when they run out, they starve. So everyone wore serious expressions when accepting the fruit. After being named, the orcs evolved into high orcs, but since they weren't named using my magical energy, there was no master-servant relationship between us. Everything rests on their sincere promise to join and support our coalition. Their strength did reach up to C+ immediately after evolving, but they settled comfortably in the C rank zone. Considering they were D ranks originally, this should be good enough. More importantly, they have gotten smarter while preserving their special characteristics. They evolved into a race that can adapt to and make use of any situation. There was a page break there. After thanking me, they dispersed, each to their own lands. Overseeing this were 10 goblin riders per group. Once they confirmed the location, we plan to assist them with setting up tents and guiding them on necessary skills. We will set up each and every community. Though this won't be for a while, but they'll eventually settle down, and their living standards should improve. Thus, we saw the orcs off, which reminded of a certain individual. The orc general insisted that I work him to my pleasure, but I did want another laborer. Whatever. Let's just let him in. I also need to figure out what to do with the black full-plate armor-clad, 2,000-strong elite orc army. Them I cannot name using a district. What should I do? Since they have a yellow aura about them, I decided to name them using a color and numbers. I glance over the orc army and have them line up according to my wishes. Recently, I can use my great sage's appraisal abilities simply by looking. Just like Shuna does. As expected of Gluttony's food chain ability, it's super effective. And so I named, assigned numbers, to everyone, except the orc general. Thus, the later famous Yellow Corpse was born. Yellow Core was born. Numbers assigned indiscriminately of gender. Since there could be no gender inequality among fellow warriors, I'll be later dispatching them to every community as production workers. At the present, there's no choice but to have them do this kind of work. Now, about the Orc General, I'm going to ignore any feeling of foreboding and decide on a name. I'll incorporate the Orc Lord's ambition, the one he got from Gelmudo. Just thinking about that clown's face makes me angry. But to the Orcs, he's an important benefactor. I don't care much about his expectations, and I don't have anything to base it on. So, the name I will bestow upon him. With respect given to me by Orc Disaster's dying wish, you shall henceforth be called Gerudo. At that moment, the Orc General's body was enveloped in a yellow aura, and he began evolving. And at the same time, I lost a lot of magical energy. Crap. So it really came to this. As always, I entered a lowered activity state, or sleep mode. And the following day, should I say, just as expected, or something, my premonition was spot on. The Orc Elite has all evolved into high Orcs. Though they possessed strength almost surpassing C+ rank, they were able to retain that level. All in all, they have evolved into rather powerful warriors. Considering the Goblin Riders also ranked C+, I seem to have acquired a rather powerful army. Well, though Goblin Riders are ranked thus, they really should be evaluated together with the Star Wolves, so perhaps I shouldn't be comparing them. Now then, the problematic Orc General, or rather Gerudo, he had gained the unique skill Gourmet, with his abilities Stomach, Supply, and Demand. His magic energy is also pretty high, almost reaching the A rank. As expected, he no longer has any of the abilities he got from cannibalizing, simply because he has no need for them. This skill he got probably because he wished for it from the bottom of his heart. Perhaps because he had endured the pain and suffering, he became such a rational and dignified monster. Can I be satisfied with such a subordinate? I had such fleeting thoughts, but decided to ignore them. If he desired to go on independent, I would permit it, though he doesn't seem to want to do that. And perhaps the death march has finally come to an end. Was all their suffering up until now the effect of Gelmudo's skill? That I wouldn't know. Perhaps that clown was actually a really powerful guy. I joked to myself. The goblin soldiers have finally returned, their numbers greatly reduced, with only 4,000 survivors. Are they okay? I worried slightly. But this is their problem, and not something I will intervene in. Too much intervention would be harmful to them. Now then, should we take our leave? Let's return to the control of this area back to the lizardmen, say our farewells to the head, and head off. Though our time here was a mere 3 weeks, this war felt rather long. I myself seem to have fought alone for a long time. The forest disturbance story thus comes to an end. Scene change. Gabel was brought before the lizardman's head, his father. The moment the fighting ended, he was thrown into prison. He was fed every morning and every evening, but no one had said anything. This kind of lifestyle continued on for 2 weeks. After all, he was a rebel. That much was true. While he acted in what he believed was everyone's best interests, his foolishness almost annihilated the entire race. It was his fault. He had no excuses to say, nor any desire to come up with any. He would probably face the death penalty, a fact he accepted. But Galmudo, who had betrayed him, ignoring that fact, the slime who had saved him, a lowly monster. That's how he referred to the slime. While that was not a mistake, it also was. That slime is special, unique and named, a truly special monster. If he could have one final wish, he'd want to ask, why did you save me? The misled, worthless me, a complete idiot. That thought was on his mind every day for 2 weeks. He stood before his father, the atmosphere heavy. They looked each other in the eye. A father who, as usual, did not show his emotion. Ah, death penalty, huh? He agreed. A leader cannot show weakness. He must uphold law at all costs. So there's no way he could hate him. He resolved himself to quietly accept his punishment. I will not pass judgment. Gabel, you are exiled. You are forbidden to ever call yourself a listenman. Further, you are forbidden to ever return. Leave. Show your face among us no longer. What did he say? His father's guards led him by the arms outside the caves. The head threw him out. And to the confused Gabel, don't forget this. Don't lose it, okay? He was told, and something was thrown to him. Along with his things, a long-wrapped package. Just from the weight, he understood. It was the magic weapon, Water Vortex Spear. Tears falling from Gabel's eyes, he wanted to say something to his father, but words wouldn't come out. He was an exile. Filled with various emotions, he could only bow in gratitude. And, without looking back, he continued onward, to the city under construction he had once visited. After walking a bit, please wait a minute, Gabel-sama, someone called out to him. His 100 subordinates. What are you doing? Idiots! I was exiled. It doesn't matter to us. We follow Gabel-sama. If you are exiled, then so are we. Yeah! They responded with a smile. Fools. What fools they are. This is no place to shed tears. Like my father, I must learn to act with dignity, he thought. What will I do with you? Got it. Follow me. And thus he walked, filled with a different kind of self-confidence than before. Gabel's group joined up with Rimuru a month later. And that is the end of chapter 43. I hope you enjoyed it.
Woo!
Sorry, I had to wet my throat. I'm not lagging for anyone, am I?
No,
We
you're
have
good.
quite a lot of people.
You sound very
How long
good.
has he been rated for? It's been pretty good.
Chapter 44. And thus we finished the town. Now that the war ended, we might as well return to our city. Honestly, returning back with an extra 2,000 or so followers is tiresome. So I'll leave the return march to Hakuro. Soe has already returned to let everyone know about our victory. We also need to set up some temporary housing for the newcomers. After I sent him back, I sat down to decide who'd rush back with me. Branger can carry 2 back, and Star Leader can carry another. But they couldn't come to a consensus on who'd go. Shion said, I'm in charge of our Lord's care, and Benimaru mentioned something about defenses or whatnot. Gerudo also referred to his ability to carry things with his stomach, and asked to be included. Honestly, though, I don't care who goes. Wait a second, I just remembered that I can use Shadow Step as well. After I decided to return this way, the debate suddenly stopped. I was completely oblivious to the Oh, someone sent me a message, sorry. I was completely oblivious to the dejected Branger, who wanted to carry me, and disappointed Shion, who was hoping to ride with me. Well then, I'll be going on ahead, I declared, and left using Shadow Step. Damn, this skill is convenient. It's like moving straight to the target through a different dimension. Oh, and I fly through that plane using fight magic. Feels like I'm moving really, really fast. In a blink of an eye, I've reached the city. Seems like this skill can plot a course, not just to people and monsters, but also to locations I've previously visited. I still can't fly especially fast using flight magic. However, even at current speed, I can easily conclude that this is the best way to travel. I'm completely satisfied with the results of this trial run. Branger's group will probably arrive within 2 to 3 days. Hakuro and the High Orcs will be here a month from now, at the soonest. Page turn. Oh, my controller just died. So before they arrive, I have to prepare a place for them to live. While some small dilemmas are bound to arise, we've at least solved all the major problems. For now, I just want to relax. Scene change. Then, after everyone arrived on time and I divided up the responsibilities, things quieted down. The city was quickly taking on shape. The High Orcs, who arrived in less than a month, quickly learned the appropriate skills from the dwarves and skilled goblins. According to Kaijin, with time, they just might become as good as the dwarf manufacturing battalion, is what he said. Thus, having acquired new workers, we quickly rushed to finish all the previously neglected projects. At the same time, we goods and equipment. We dismantled the tents that were no longer in use and sent them to the orc communities. The goblins sent to them have been able to assert their leadership and have been helping establish basic necessities. The moment we began exchanging goods, we also started establishing a solid system of exchange. Though they ended up with what we may call an ancient bartering system, the fact that they came up with this in itself is wonderful. Besides, it's not like they're growing that many goods yet, so they can take all the time they need to learn these things. There is a very little variety right now, basically limited to growing a potato-like crop. It can grow even in the harshest of environments. It also has high nutritional value, and though you can't exactly call it a luxury food, you can certainly live off it. Thus, we spread the seeds among them and taught them how to grow it. Perhaps in 2 years they could be self-sufficient. I surely hoped so. Gerudo was very useful in transporting the seeds and tents. As he claimed he could, he swallowed the disassembled tents and thus distributed them among the villages. However, his success is largely thanks to the fact that he can now leap along with the Star Wolves during Shadow Step. He seriously tried hard to learn it and became the first to succeed with it. The rest went smoothly. That is, the trip to the mountain district alone on foot would have taken him many months. Instead, he was able to make a round trip in a single day. So we decided to put the skill to use and established a communications network between all the villages. Basically, a postal service. For example, I can scribble some information on a wooden block and have it circulated among the communities. Though I must mention that only a few individuals here can read and write, and I'm rather afraid of sending a verbal message. Who knows what it will become after passing through all of those villages? Chinese whispers. Hopefully they can learn letters, more so, since telepathic communication doesn't reach that far. But that's for later. Thus, we were able to establish some kind of connection between the many communities. And I must not forget about a guy that showed up. Gabel. That idiot suddenly showed up in our city.
This Gabel has rushed over to become your strength, Rimuru Dono,
he brazenly stated. Kill him? Shion asked me with a serious face. The kind of face that screams, I'm serious, and reads, absolutely serious. Gabel paled and,
I got carried away. I'm sorry. Please allow us to become your subordinates, Rimuru-sama. We will definitely prove ourselves useful.
He immediately corrected himself, falling into a dogeza. Apparently, he was disowned or exiled by his father and had no place to go. So since he was just so pitiful, I decided to welcome him in. Bet he'll get carried away again right away, though. If I look closely, seems like the head's guard captain is also among them. Captain-san, why are you here? When I asked him,
I came to serve Soe-sama, whom I greatly admire.
What? So you didn't come because you admired this Gabel? Oh, that's the wrong voice.
What? So you didn't come because you admired this Gabel? I am different from other muscle brains. That much is obvious.
They started to quarrel among themselves. The majority, it seemed, came out of respect for Gabel, but there were a few from the guard squad as well. Well, I don't see a big problem with them wanting to serve Soe. If you want to serve Soe, go and talk to him. But do note, he's a ninja. Will you be of any use to him?
We shall. We are different from those naive idiots. What did you say? Don't underestimate me, little girl.
Seems like they don't get along. Probably the fact that one started a rebellion and the other captured them afterwards led to a grudge forming between them. In any case, I won't meddle in that, because it's damn tiresome. Oh, and I later learned that the little girl is Gabel's younger sister. Since she's his relative, she's probably also a little weird. But her father is a wonderful guy. Well, since you'll be serving Soe, I guess you'll be called Soka. The other four I'll name Toka, Saika, Nanso, and Hakuso.
But then again,
Flower endings for girls, and spear endings for boys. Of course, there is no greater meaning attached. These 5 served in the guard squad. I'll leave them to Soe. The moment I named them, they began to evolve. Gabel observed this with great envy. However, I cannot name Gabel. He already has it. Are you jealous, Gabel-kun? Oh, sorry. Yes, but you are already named Gabel. Gabel quickly looked at me, and then his body began to glow. That's a sign of evolution. The moment I thought that, a lot of magical energy suddenly left my body. Again? Seriously? But who could have thought I can overwrite names? Well, chances are this happened by pure chance. The one who named him had died, and we were on the same wavelength or something like that. I don't know exactly why it happened, but the fact remains, I renamed Gabel. I had wanted him to reflect a bit more, but just thinking how haughty he'll become after evolving... damn it. Now I'm scared. While thinking these things, I entered sleep mode. The following day, I named the other 100 lizardmen soldiers. The names I assigned by picking letters of the alphabet. 20 names was my limit, since they were high-level monsters to begin with. Naming them uses up a lot of magical energy. The whole process took 5 days. Can I just stop? Somehow, I feel like I'm working harder than I ever did in my past life. It's Gabel. It's all Gabel's fault. Since that's clearly the truth, let's fire a magic bullet at him.
What are you doing?
He exclaimed in surprise. Practice, I responded. He happily accepted that response. He really is an idiot. One that can compete with Gobelta. By the way, since it was pointless, I didn't fire a bullet at him. Gabel evolved into a dragon newt. He's covered by dense scales which act like a multi-layered barrier. Oh, and speaking of strange, the appearance of dragon newts varies by gender. The men don't look much different than when they were lizard men. They sprouted dragon wings and horns, and are now covered in hard scales, just that much. Well, their dark green color also changed to a dark purple. On the other hand, the women have a human appearance, rather beautiful actually. Furthermore, they can also cover themselves with dragon scales, sprout wings, and horns at will. They look like I would if I were to transform into a human and combine myself with the black snake and giant bat. Perhaps that black snake was a dragon species. So since Gabel's vices annoyed me to no end, I also wanted to check out his defenses. And it's hard to check that by yourself. I fired a test shot at him. He was unharmed. I only shot a normal round that he normally received. That should have been 5 times stronger than usual. Well, maybe he's just so stupid he doesn't feel the pain. Or, even worse, he inherited my pain resistance. Oh, God. They do say that dinosaurs were dull to pain. So could he be Now that they have evolved, what should we do about their housing? If they need water, there's the river flowing nearby, and it's a pain to make a village with only 100 people. There is that underground lake in the cave, but there's no fish and a high magic density. Well, since it's Gabel, he can handle that much, right? They could also cultivate epokti grass while they are at it. However, would sending them into the cave prove perilous to them? The 5 guards I left to Soe. Hopefully, he can raise them into fine ninja and kunoichi. Since I'm scared, I'll be sure to avoid their practices. Gabel's group is the problematic one, however. Even if I send them into the cave, they probably won't become monster. But as dragonoots, their fighting strength is B rank. They should have no problem defeating monsters in there. But the centipede could cause them some trouble. But since they are experienced warriors and are carrying weapons, they should be fine, right? I shouldn't worry about Gabel either. His evolution placed him at rank A-. He also obtained quite a lot of magical energy, so maybe he'll end up as an A rank. Gabel, I want to leave harvesting epokti grass in the caves to you. How about it? When I asked,
Please, leave it to me. This Gabel will work himself to the bone for you.
He casually responded, I'll leave it to him. Besides, if they start living there, they can also double as the cave's guards. And so Gabel's group started harvesting epokti grass in the caves. I had some lingering worries, so I came to check, but they seem to be doing just fine. And since they are constantly fighting, they are becoming even stronger. Right now, they can bring down a centipede with just the 5 of them. How reassuring. I should also send them new weapons, so I thought, and thus some time passed. Scene change. 2 months have passed since I returned to the city, just as everyone was getting used to the life here and the production was going smoothly, and the moment we finished the last house, the goblins, if I had to say, about 8,000 of them, showed up and knelt before me, saying,
If you may please make us your servants as well. We humbly beg you.
they said, falling prostrate before me. I thought for a second, if I refuse them, that may seem conflict later on. Besides, I also strictly ordered not to discriminate against other races. If I send them away, that may set a precedent of discrimination. Let's accept them. So I decided. Fine, but I will drive away anyone who's slacking. Is that fine?
Of course.
I accepted them lightly, but little did I know that another struggle was soon upon me. Again, my screams could be heard immediately after. To say the least, I used numbers and thus created the Green Corps. That was the moment the famous Green Corps was born. Along with the Yellow Corps, they would be known as having no equal. The crux of my forces.
Hey, man.
Right now,
Yo.
they were but dirty
What are you
goblins.
petting over here, dude?
I like this dragon scene, yo.
Yo, this thing's
Would you
sick.
please not
You
speak,
guys
sir?
need to be quiet. We are having a story time. Please, thank you.
Yeah,
Right.
let's see how well that works out.
What is their name, Leroy? If you could pop their kick up, I'll block.
TLO Vis Clovis.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, actually shifting. I'm actually gonna go to bed, dude.
Taco.
And you don't shut the fuck up, yo. I'm trying to say goodbye to my boy.
Yo, Taco. TACO.
Take it easy,
Why
Shifty.
is this
I'll talk to you
list
in the
not
morning.
in alphabetical order? It makes things quite difficult.
Close. I'm out.
Alright, dude. I'll catch you later. Much
Yeah, peace
love.
out, everyone. I love you guys.
See ya.
We don't love you.
Damn, that was rude.
Web alert.
Okay. Should be gone now. Sorry, guys. Okay, back to the story. I still don't know how to use these new mod tools, so I apologize. Where were we? Right now, they were but dirty goblins, and a month later, I finally finished naming them. But this was not a complete trend. Who did that?
I missed the person. I'll pay attention.
And a month later, I finally finished naming them. But this was not a complete tragedy. My total amount of magical energy has increased. I mean, I kept emptying time after time again, so it was bound to increase a little bit. And thus, I finished naming the goblins. By the time I finished naming them, we also finished constructing housing for everyone. I had the goblins stay in a boarding house for now, but that's certainly better than camping out in a tent. We had a system for drawing water, as well. Lost the bloody train. We had a system for drawing water, a well in every house, so it was a pretty advanced city. Having a flush toilet is also heavenly. There is a need to carry the pumped out water to the toilet in a bucket, but strong monsters don't particularly mind. There are also those who don't excrete, though, me included. However, we can't have the city stinking. That much I will not permit. However, there are still many fields and animal farms that haven't been. Is someone talking?
No, I'm gonna take a guess.
All I'm
who it
hearing is a
Give me
very
second.
loud shh.
I'm gonna go with MOBB.
Could you start a kick for them? I must have them blocked. Sorry, guys. Didn't expect this many interruptions. However, there are still many fields and animal farms that haven't seen success. I want to make sure this city grows in abundance. I have finally acquired a land where I can live at peace. Here are those who were with me at the time. Oni, 6 people. Tempest Starwolf, 1. Star Leader, 1. Star Wolves, 100. Goblin Riders, 100. A Goblin King, 1. Goblin Lords, 8. Hobgoblins, 8,657. Jeez. Orc King, 1. High Orcs, 1,984. Dragon Youths, 106. And 4 dwarves supporting us. There are over 10,000 monsters inhabiting these lands, and thus we finished the city. The end of the forest disturbance arc. The end of this volume, I believe. Yes, it is. I'll post the art for next week so that you can see it all. Oh, that's quite good. Oh, there's even stat screens. Interesting. Then let us begin the next arc. After I wet my throat. All right. Life in the Royal Capital. Arc. Chapter 45. Those Who Observe. Upon reading the report from the Espionage Division, the Dwarf King Gazelle Dwargo fell into deep consideration. The division, whom he asked to monitor that peculiar slime, has reported facts he could not ignore. A city built for monsters. Were they joking? He thought so for a second, but the spies never told jokes. They frankly delivered their report, and then the unbelievable tale continued. The Orcs' army had invaded. The despondent state of the lizardmen. The war ending due to the appearance of a God damn it, I can't English today. Due to the appearance of a mysterious army. The army probably are the clansmen of that said slime. Holding up the letter to the candle, he burned it, and, closing his eyes, he tried to sort all the new information. Currently, there were few casualties in the forest despite the rise in monsters' activities. It has increased slightly since when Veldora was there, but it's still similar to last year's statistics. They had been expecting the numbers to double at least. So, someone is enforcing the order in the forest. Chances are that someone has something to do with that slime, and the orcs stopped their invasion. Had they, for example, rushed into the dwarves' cities, an insane number of people would have been killed. It would be foolish to expect that the orcs would not have attacked the dwarves, but he can't just praise good luck and forget about the whole incident. He must urgently meet the ones responsible. So the king quickly decided. He definitely wanted to avoid making an enemy of them. Rather, he'd be happy if they could cooperate in the future. Perhaps, he should carefully start negotiating with them while ignoring the deportation incident. Or, perhaps they should resort to a more reliable method. Having made his decision, the king began to move. The 4 demon scene change. The 4 demon lords decided against independent action concerning the forest. There was no problem in this regard. However, they immediately started bickering when it came to who will monitor the situation. With an appearance of a little girl, the demon lord Milim Nava had these thoughts. If I leave it up to these blockheads, they're bound to mess it all up. After all, she saw them as little but muscle-for-brained idiots. Certainly, this was just the time for the cool and wise Milim to take the stage. The fact that she had thrown a table at Galmudo moments prior completely escaped her. In fact, the girl herself was one of those muscle-for-brained idiots herself. Moreover, she was the most short-tempered and simple among them. What the rest would consider common sense was completely lost on her. The Harpy Queen and one of the Demon Lords, Frey, was bored. Milim will just go on a rampage again, so sending her is out of the question. Because the cleanup would be a pain. However, Frey could not work against her. Though they were both Demon Lords, there was a clear difference in power. Frey's kind are called the rulers of the skies, and she herself is known as the Sky Queen. It would be preposterous for her to lose against those who can't fly. Their special ability, Magic Jamming, can cancel out flight magic spells. So, those who cannot fly normally would fall to their death. And although Demon Lords would probably survive even if they fell from high in the sky, this is so... They would be unable to land a single hit on her. Those who can't fly can't threaten her. However, Milim Nava doesn't fit in this category. The girl is a dragonoid, and the strongest queen. Her nickname, Destroyer, is not just for show. She doesn't use magic when flying. Rather, she uses her own wings, nor does she depend on magic during combat, so Frey would be at a complete disadvantage, truly her natural enemy. So Frey was basically forced to go along with Milim's wishes. She merely hoped to be able to continue this passiveness for the rest of the conference. Hopefully, all will end peacefully, she thought, and let out a sigh. Lycanthrope's Lion King Carrion felt pretty good. He had attended the conference to kill some time, but was able to see something interesting as a result. I have to make those Oni into my subordinates, he thought. Harpy Queen Frey was probably not interested. She probably just went along with Milim's wishes. As for Milim, she might be short-tempered and a simpleton, but she is by no means stupid. Expecting the disagreement to devolve into a vote, Carrion brought friends who would support him. What an impudent woman, he thought, looking at Milim. What a narcissistic face she makes. In the first place, who would have expected someone like Gelmudo to be able to stir 4 demon lords into motion? That thought was brought up by the ghastly demon lord, Clayman. Gelmudo was his protege, and, upon receiving this request, immediately went to Clayman to seek advice. Whatever you may think of him, Gelmudo was the type of person who would hide his true intentions behind the language of a polite gentleman. Now, Clayman and Milim, which was a more formidable foe? Battle strength-wise, Milim, hands down. Carrion probably couldn't defeat her by himself. The very thought angered him, but fighting her without analyzing her battle abilities ahead of time would most likely lead to a defeat. On the other hand, if he properly prepared, he would certainly be her equal. No, maybe a bit better. Clayman is probably weaker than the rest. However... Oh, come on, page, turn. This case is all about ingenuity. In other words, the easy-to-deceive Milim is out of the game. Frey, being Milim's follower, is also out, so the real foe is Clayman. That Carrion was sure of. So how should he proceed? Carrion was deep in thought, planning his next step. Clayman wore a gentleman's smile while observing the other 3 demon lords. The one who introduced Gelmudo to the other demon lords was none other than him. He also pulled some strings to get this all arranged. Gelmudo had planned to get the demon lord's attention by presenting his magic items and armors, but that was bound to fail. So Clayman had to arrange the meeting, and he specifically called 2 demon lord simpletons here, fully expecting that the Harpy Queen Frey would also be brought along. Though Frey is careful and cunning, she seems to be uninterested in this incident. Thank you. I cannot select you, though. Well, that's a shame.
I'm gonna kill that dude.
Well, I think he just left, or did he respawn?
Kick his ass, Leroy.
For some reason, I could not select his model. Odd. Please tell me if he comes back. His name was Mob, M-O-B-B.
As soon as he comes back, I'll put a vote kick for him.
I didn't know
So everyone went to...
existed.
So everything went according to plan. 2 demon lords who specialize in combat. No matter how hard they think, they are simply not that bright. Clayman can easily stall them. Guiding the conversation the whole time, he even tried to get them on the topic of avenging Gelmudo. With that thought, he had thought to say, hey, just a thought, but how about we send our subordinates, 1 each? That way, I can also send one of my daughters. Frey declared with a... God damn it. That was meant to be Frey. Frey declared with a somber expression. The other 3 immediately stiffened. While I could reject the offer, I would not be able to substantiate the refusal, the 3 of them thought. They would just have to accept it, and after checking the others' expressions, they nodded. I had just been planning to say the same myself. How strange, I as well. What do you do? What to do if you took the words right out of my mouth? So it's decided then. And thus, although each demon lord had intended differently, they decided to send a subordinate there. In reality, though, they intended to... Soon, Rimuru's village would be visited by 3 demons. Scene change. 3 adventurers were walking in the woods. Cabal, Ellen, and Guido. They came to the forest on a subjugation request, and, by the request of their guild master, they also were to visit Rimuru's city. To the adventurers, that city was heaven. and the yakiniku was delicious. But by the time they returned, the village greatly changed and expanded. Now they could even have their equipment serviced and had a guest house prepared for them. As present,
Your mic is hot micing. Can you
but
mute your mic,
no.
please?
As presents, they bought spices and salt for the seasoning. Not for their sake, of course. Patrolling the city is a hobgoblin wolf combat. Thanks to their speed, they have been ensuring the safety of the area. It's thanks to this city that the forest has gotten so much safer. Moreover, you can get various rare ingredients from them for free. Get this, parts of the poisonous snake and horned deer. On a good day, you can even get the horn of an Armosaurus. They could even use these to claim to have finished the guild's subjugation requests. It is, of course, cheating, but that's only if you get caught, right? Well, unfortunately, the Bruman's Free Guild master, Fuze, with whom they were affiliated, is already suspecting them, so they can't just suddenly bring back such trophies. Greed would only lead to their demise. So they decided to act with prudence, and so they are once again going on a subjugation request in the forest, merrily walking towards Rimuru City. Damn! The food is getting better and better. Isn't Shuna-chan as good as the cooks in the royal capital? Yeah, I'm usually a bit picky about food, but everything's great there.
Listen up, guys. We aren't going there to eat, you know. We actually have a legitimate reason to go there this time, remember?
That's a stupid question. Yeah, it's been 2 months since we last visited. Plenty of time has passed.
Yes, it's been a while, but have they finished the bars? I can't wait.
The royal capital also has those. I'd love to go to them someday. The world travelers have been demanding them for a long time, right? I can see it becoming a habit, though.
Right. So, looking forward to it. But anyways, do you know, Guido, there is a wonderful system called mixed bathing in this world. Last time, Rimuru-dama passionately spoke about it. I'll make sure this city has it, Rimuru-dama exclaimed. Do you get it, Guido? We finally have reached the promised land, where we can possibly enter the bus together with Shuna-sama and Shion-san.
What did you say? Hey, I don't mind you guys having fun by yourselves over there, but you're getting left behind. Thus they continued on, aiming towards a yet unseen paradise, and during their journey they would meet someone completely unexpected. Scene change. The land of the Farmers' Kingdom's Count. Bordering the Jura forest, it considered the forest in its sphere of influence. Patrolling the nearby villages was the Count's frontier garrison. They were appointed by Count Nidol Mayagan himself, and established plenty of routes to quickly get to villages during an emergency. Their captain's name is Yobu. Quick-witted and tough, he has a toned body, darkened by the sun. Neither tall nor short, he looked as if he never let his guard down. By no means ugly, rather, he has a pretty good face. There are 30 people in their organization, but it has 3 captains. Their fighting force is always separated into 3 groups, with one resting at base, so that in case of an emergency, they can move as soon as they hear of it. Thus, although they have searched for an appropriate location for their base, none of the villages fit their needs. Every one of them was built near the forest, creating a large distance between them. Thus, even the closest village on horseback with provision was a day's worth away. For the further ones, you'd need to prepare a carriage. The Count's city is by far the most separated and is a poor place for their base. Moreover, the lifestyle in the villages could hardly be called pleasant, so the garrison didn't get the treatment they had wanted. That led to growing discontent among his subordinates. They have not received a large sum of war funds, and even if they had, they wouldn't be able to buy anything worth a note. After all, they had to spend most of it just purchasing weapons and armors. What had kept these soldiers away from mutiny was the fact that the villagers were very thankful to ruffians and drunkards that the soldiers were. The villagers offered heartfelt hospitality. The villagers understood that they were there to protect them against monsters, which was true. And considering how honestly they were thanked every time, the soldiers decided to work hard for the villagers' sake. Also, because the monsters hadn't attacked as often as the Count had thought, there were no casualties among the garrison. Not just deaths, there were no heavily injured among them either. More bitter grass soup today. Thinking thus, Yomu brought his troops into the forest. Not wide enough for a carriage, but a horse could traverse through it. The small twigs coming at them could easily be deflected with magic. If they had to take a carriage along, they'd have to go down the mountain highway route. That detour would cost them many days, hence the problem previously described. At that time, they ran into a group of people walking in the forest.
Adventurers from head to toe. Did they come on a subjugation request, he thought. News from here sometimes reaches the cities, and requests are not uncommon. While some adventurers are sent on behalf of the ghost researchers, who are attempting to learn through transmission, if there was an actual subjugation request, it would be... What? Why was that a comma? I'm sorry. If there was an actual subjugation request, it would have been announced at every nearby city. That is, to prevent multiple groups from fulfilling the same request. If they were aiming for a giant bear, then unfortunately the soldiers have already killed it. From how they looked, they seemed rather capable. Perhaps it would be smart to make their acquaintance. With that thought, he called out, "Hey, you guys, what are you doing out here? If you came for a giant bear, you've wasted your time, you know." And when he did, no, well, I guess subjugating a monster is one of the reasons. Datta, what are you saying? Our objective is subjugation, isn't it? Oh, right, yes, the official story. Crap. They were too careless. Yomu listened to their exchange while surrounding them with troops. Were they foreign spies? While he had no duty to capture them, he'd be troubled if they caused trouble. Why would they be here, and if not on request, he thought. I repeat, what are you doing here? Answer me. If you don't, you might lose your lives. He didn't plan to kill them, but needed to intimidate them a little bit. Their exchange abruptly ended, and the thing is, we were heading to a city. Their representative, a large man, answered. There is no city further in. No doubt about it. They are suspicious. Should I hand them over to the Count? But I really hate that guy. What to do? No, really. A kind monster. Hey, what are you doing revealing this? Don't look at me. If they tell you, don't come again, we'll go on without you, you know. They are too suspicious to ignore. While looking at three bickering, Yomu decided. He had to confirm their words. Where are you adventurers from? Answer. Don't attempt to hide it. These are the lands of the Farmers' Kingdom's Count. Under the protection of the frontier garrison, I am their captain, Yomu. The three exchanged glances and seemed to have given up. While apprehending spies was not part of his duties,
Leroy said
it was
Tate is a
something he
butt.
would do. He couldn't leave them alone, after all. The countries have agreed on not employing spies. However, whether any country has actually kept that promise is a different story entirely. Who knows what country they'd come from? But only an idiot spy would pretend to be an adventurer. Spies would normally take their lives if cornered, but these guys don't seem to plan on it. Are they really adventurers? When he thought that, no, honestly, but it's a monster city. You wouldn't believe it if we didn't, you wouldn't believe that if we told you, right? Would you? Besides, we don't want to cause trouble for Rimuru-san. I'm not involved in this. The one who spilled the beans is you, Datta. What would we do if we were banished from there? And again they began fighting. Amazed, Yomu thought, could they perhaps not be lying? If so, he had to check it out. After restraining the three and throwing them on a horse, he had them show the way, to a city yet unseen, and a monster
Leroy
would
said
play a
sorry
large
stream
role
I'll
in
vote
all
you
of
and
their
Tate you're still a
lives.
butt.
End of that chapter. Thank you for all the love. What have we got?
Thank you for that voice.
You're
I mean,
welcome.
the story.
Beautiful
Right,
as always,
yes.
Magnanix. I single-handedly
Oh.
blame you for all of the interruptions, Magnanix. Gosh.
No.
Sheesh. I'm
I
kidding.
apologize,
You're doing amazing.
Shamrock.
You're doing amazing.
I'll try
Look at
better.
me. I'm applauding for you.
I see.
applaud you.
Let us continue then. I think 2 more chapters and then we will call it for this reading session. Okay?
Sounds good.
Excellent. Chapter 46. A country's name and 2 treaties. The city had gotten rather pretty. Behold the results of my hard work. Isn't something I can say, however. But that aside, I fussed over a few things. Toilets, plumbing, insect repellents, and baths. The first 3 were made in Japanese style. I also built window screens using spider thread. At first, we had built the toilet seats out of wood, but that was no good. Though that's how the Japanese did it. It's unbearable to maintain. It rots, you know. So I turned to the dwarves. Oh, one second.
They've never failed at their task, so perhaps they could do something about the toilet problem. Thought manipulation was very useful this time around. It is the evolved form of thought transmission, but its use stayed pretty much the same. So using it, I could easily transmit an image to them. Drawing and explaining it would have been difficult, but sending them a mental image was not. Even then, however, when I showed them the flush toilet system saying, when you push the lever, water flows down, reproducing it was impossible. It could be made with high-level water magic stones, which absorb water from the air, but they are very expensive. Also, since they need to be frequently replaced, they are rarely used, even for military objectives. Honestly, only the very rich could afford to create this. Since we don't have the needed capital, we would do with what we have. In any case, we can leave complex plumbing systems for later. So for now, we supplied water to tubs in every household from one, which can then draw water. What? To tubs in every household from which one can then draw water. Okay. And after filling the toilet bowl with water, you can then flush it. Ooh, technology. So Kaijin lived up to his reputation yet again. Thus, I had strictly commanded the monsters to watch personal hygiene and dental care. I don't know whether monsters can develop dental problems, but there's no harm in making sure they don't. According to Kaijin, adventurers tend to either befriend people who know cleaning magic, or learn it themselves. That way, they can avoid staying dirty during long trips, though mostly the high-ranking ones concern themselves with these things. Now, about the insect repellent. As you'd expect, the forest has a lot of bugs. Since you can't protect yourself against them, there's a chance of catching diseases they can carry. While that's not a problem for me, the hobgoblins do get sick, so I tried to fix this problem. I asked the dwarves to create it, but they couldn't do it. I guess we'd have to go and buy it in the human cities, though we have no money. I asked the three idiots to go and get it, but this is what they said.
Don't think that'd be possible. It's super expensive. Besides, we wouldn't know how much we'd need to buy to cover a whole city with. You'd find that quantity only in the royal capital.
Ah, that was the three idiots. Rimuru Datta, can you imagine how hard it would be to transport? Is what they said. I don't mind them coming over to hang out, but they should at least be of some use sometimes. Moreover, they are getting too friendly with Shuna, often cooking together, buying her wares, trying to get closer to her. And we even built them a house to stay in during their visits. The monster's birth rate dropped to that of humans. Thus, I'll need to figure out what to do about marriage soon. I want orc, goblins, and lizardmen to have the right to choose whomever they love. It would be good if they produce stronger offspring. Next page. But there is a problem. Should I allow polygamy? Oh, the big questions. This might especially be helpful to women who have lost their husband. The Oni, for example, can reproduce with any race, but choose not to. All of their magical energy gets absorbed in the process, and some have not been able to recover it, as Benimaru said.
But that isn't something Rimuru-sama should be concerned about, right? Many people have lost all their magical energy after naming monsters, and even demon lords generally avoid it after all.
Way to drop the bomb. Hey, how many do you think I've named by now? And you mention it now? Thank goodness it has been replenished until now. I'll have to be more careful about naming monsters from now on. Well, replenishing energy just seems so natural to me. Call it an adult's intuition or something. Anyways, it seems there are also two types of children produced by Oni. The first are created with but seed. The second is truly labored over. The former is made by combining some of one's magical power, and while they do inherit some abilities, they tend to be weaker. The latter you pour all your strength into, but your lifespan shortens as a result. I'm fine alone. I'm not interested. It's personal. By the way, it's different for women. They can reject a seed they believe too weak, so if they were forced, that would mean that the partner was stronger. But if deception was involved, then they wouldn't bear a child. They aren't allowed to bear children with just anyone. And this is common among high-ranking monsters and devils, it seems. Goblins and the other demi-humans, since they don't possess superb strength, are not much different than humans. So far, we've had about 5 to 10 children born, and not more than 2 at a time. In any case, in order to ensure that they leave offspring, I will allow polygamy. However, only limited to widows, and that's the rule I passed. I'll change it when needed. Every new moon we decided to hold a confession festival, and new couples would be given a home. Singles would continue living in tenement housing. Well, if they occupy more Important posts, they are free to live on their own. That much doesn't bother me personally. In the end, I won't be able to make sure everyone's satisfied, but there is a custom to accept my wishes in this city. When interests clash, residents bicker. They come seeking my decision. Well, the Elder Bunch also handles many of these, so my involvement can be said to be limited, to some degree. Everyone is trying to be very considerate of me, so they try to avoid causing trouble. I was surprised at how cooperative the monsters really are. When it comes to government, whether socialism or capitalism, both will eventually rot and fall apart. A land ruled by a truly just king, where everyone is equal, 'tis but a pipe dream. However, I decided to aim for that dream. I pray I will never fall into vice. Should I become truly depraved, I hope someone will end me. That's what I thought while observing the Confession Festival. Now that we've stabilized the life here and passed all seemingly necessary rules, I want to go and see how humans live. Besides, I can now transform into a human. It's about time I go and learn from them. Normally, those who have reincarnated into a different world make a big deal about meeting humans. I, however, have met very few so far. The group outside of the dwarf city, Shizu-san, the 3 idiots, and that's all, yes. Nor have I forgotten my original objective in meeting fellow world travelers. Next page. Come on. From Shizu-san's memories, her 2 students, Kagurazaka, Yuki, and Sakaguchi Hinata. I do want to meet the 2 of them, but Sakaguchi Hinata sounds like bad news. There was also something that bothered me. Why did the kind Shizu-san allow Hinata to go on her own? As her senpai, as a fellow Japanese, shouldn't she have seen her off? I must meet Hinata and confirm. I have acquired some of these memories from targets I've consumed with Predator, but certainly not all. Lingering memories are easier to acquire, I guess. When I meet her, I should confirm what I know. The 3 idiots have passed along my message to their guild master, and also looked after the letter I wrote. That letter simply expresses my desire to meet him. Though he's but a chief of a small country's Freedom Association branch, he is a guild master. He should have connections. Hopefully I can get some benefits from meeting him. If it goes over well, maybe he could even try to introduce me to the Grand Master, Kagurazaka Yuki. Since things have calmed down around here, I can probably leave for a bit. However, to do that, there is something I lack. Right, money! The 3 idiots were pretty poor and didn't have much money on them. Not that I expected the better of them. I want to buy vegetable seeds, magic stones, handicraft, and whatever seems impressive. I initially planned to sell some demon steel, but decided against that. The reason is simple. Demon steel is too precious of a resource. Since we use it in our weapons and armor, selling it would be almost sacrilegious. It is also invaluable for production of mounted soldiers' weapons, since it can change shape at will. It's useful for receiving and dealing various attacks, to say nothing of carrying it. And while I do have a lot of it, it's not like it's an infinite amount, so let's hold off on selling it until we can replenish our stock. As for iron ore and such, we discovered some in the mountains district, and are buying it off the High-Orcs. So, Kurobi and Kaijin are using it as a base to create weapons. We also need a lot of magical stones for research. Those are created by the human ghost researchers, and do not appear naturally. They manufactured it from crystallized magic stones they extract from monsters. It also seems to require large factories, so is only done at the Freedom Association's headquarters. Monsters sometimes drop crystallized magic stones. Those are then collected at each individual branch and sent to the headquarters. That's the system that they use. So when adventurers hunt monsters, they don't only do it to protect against damages, but also to become rich. That doesn't make sense. A pretty good system, if you ask me. Which means that if I want to acquire some magic stones, I have to buy them. So I ran into the money wall again. Thus, how should I earn some money? By myself, I couldn't possibly make enough quick money. The same with selling. Our fields don't produce nearly enough, and we probably couldn't sell them at a high enough price. Weapons and armors are for our personal use, and those will not be sold. So, do we have nothing to sell? The thing is, we do. I had left a certain something to Gabel, after all. Right, Hippoctagrass. So I called Gabel over. Gabel-kun, how is cultivation going?
I'm glad you asked. It's going well. Literally the fruits of our labor.
He said, showing me their produce. It's weed. Not that kind. Silently, I aimed black lightning at him. Well, we won't die from it. Sorry, he won't die from it. I've gotten good at adjusting the output.
What are you doing? I have angered you somehow.
Idiot, this is common weed. What the hell have you been cultivating?
What? I beg your pardon. I've been hurrying, so I seem to have mixed things up.
I've been hurrying won't cut it. Seriously, watch what you are doing. Besides, it should be nearly impossible to grow weed in a cave with such high magic density.
In reality, even this exchange was planned. We're actually steadily growing epoxy grass. Rather, teaching Gabel to distinguish between different types of grass is what was giving me trouble. And this Gabel walks around the cave as if he owned the place, sometimes even referred to as its king. The monsters inhabiting it also flee at the sight of him. Some of his subordinates have recently been able to defeat the centipede alone, and now consider the cave as their territory. It's actually really impressive. Not that I will say that to them, or offer any praise. Gabel is the type to get carried away when he is praised, and fail soon after, just like me. I understand because I am exactly the same. They have been growing a lot of hypoxia grass up until now. I then called Kaijin over and showed him the hypoxia grass, and next to it, the medicine I made from processing it. Quality was appraised as very good. I've always been able to produce high-quality medicine with it. Then I started the conversation.
Kaijin, if I sold this in a city, how much would I make? Kaijin thought for a bit, and then replied,
It's a clone.
Datta, that's a tough one. This medicine is too good. Its effects are too good. It's impossibly good.
And then I learned a few things from him. That my medicine has the highest purity rating of 99%. That normally that limit is 98%. And even dwarf masters, over the next page, have not been able to surpass that. That even at 98%, it fetches a high price, and so on.
So if you tried selling this in a city,
you'd stand out. You'd stand out too much.
I wanted to say sorry because...
Oh, sorry. You'd stand out too much. An answer came from the sky, but my magic perception didn't sense anyone. It's been a while, Kaijin, and Slime, do you remember me? While saying this, a person appeared from the sky, settled on a winged horse.
God damn it, I did the wrong voice.
This is meant to be the Dwarven King, I think.
It's been a while, Kaijin, and Slime, do you remember me?
While saying this, a person appeared from the sky, straddled on a winged horse, a wonderful white steed with wings, a Pegasus. After landing, he jumped to the ground. How could I forget? It's the Dwarven King, Hero King Gazelle Dwargo himself.
My lord, why would you be here? Did you sneak out of the castle?
Kaijin's opened his eyes wide. They seemed like they'd fall out. Well, yeah, that's only natural. The king was alone. Actually, no. He bought an extra. He came with only 2 people. Actually, haven't I seen the other one somewhere? Isn't that Bester, the dwarf that tried to ensnare us? Why would he be here?
I slipped past 100 guards of my own. They've been slacking. When I return, I'll retrain them.
No. To have a king as their training partner.
Kaijin, did you say something?
No, I said nothing at all.
Is that so? Okay, then.
Speaking of things outside of my knowledge, the 2 continued their conversation. How the hell did the king slip out? We decided to continue the conversation at a different place, and not a temporary one, but to a special building in the center. All the administrative duties are carried out in this building, so we borrowed some of the conference rooms. So, King, what is this about? Why did you bring Bestadono along?
Oh, that's simple. I selfishly decided to forbid your future re-entry into the Dwarven Kingdom, so I decided to come and see you instead. As for Bester, he's also at fault for what had occurred, so I also exiled him. But we can't have him lead a carefree life now, can we? So I brought him over. Silence. So I brought him over. Did you just say that? Whose voice is this?
So I brought him over. Did you really just say that? Do you, King, truly understand? Are you planning to have Bester work here?
You don't want him?
That's not the problem. Aren't you worried that his knowledge will be leaked to us?
Kaijin said with a deadly serious face. Though he's serious by nature, he's desperately pressing the king for answers. In contrast to him, the king casually ignores his questions. The previous dignity is nowhere to be seen. This is probably his actual appearance, huh? As for Bester, he looks completely lost.
Leak. When you guys left, isn't that exactly what you were doing? I've considered erasing you, you know.
Suddenly, the king turned serious.
King, that... I'm serious. I decided against it, though. I tried to avoid pointless effort. I brought Bester over because I would like him to work here.
Those words lit a flame in Bester's eyes.
King! Don't get this wrong, Bester. I had high expectations of you. That much is true. I won't permit you to serve me, but you can work to your heart's content here. That's all.
King, oh, wouldn't that mean that they would be learning all the dwarf secrets for free?
And the next page, come on.
Kaijin had just gotten over that, though.
Is it fine is all you guys seem to be able to say. With you two here, this city will become the center of technological development. Don't you understand? The dwarf country, this king is interested in working together with you. Get it? The dwarf country, as of today, officially seeks to form a non-aggression treaty with you. Also, before that, as an under-the-table deal, we want to form mutual technology research treaties. That, however, must never be mentioned to anyone. How about it? Will you accept these two treaties?
He said with a serious face, looking me straight in the eye. A non-aggression treaty and one to share technological advancements. What more could we ask for? They are essentially recognizing us as an official state. So does that mean you are recognizing us as a country with sovereign rights? To my question,
of course. It's a good offer, isn't it? Also, just out of curiosity, what is the name of this country?
Could you please mute your microphone, sir?
A
name. Kaijin and I exchanged glances.
Undecided as of yet.
Now that you mention it.
I had thought about it once, though. The Dwarf King had decided to stay the night with us. If traveling on the Pegasus, he could return to the Dwarven Kingdom within a day. However, journeying by night is dangerous, so he decided to return the following day. We had gathered an emergency council to decide the name of the country, and thus we decided. We shall be known as the Monster City, Tempest. They had intended to call it Rimuru, but that was too embarrassing, so I forbid it. We compromised down to Tempest. It's not like it's my only name. Sorry, it's not like it's only my name, and it sounds all right. That night, to commemorate the naming of the city, we threw a large party. We have an abundance of food and some pretty good cooks. Seems like we've been even able to impress the king. That's mainly because Shuna is just such an amazing cook. For entertainment, we had a mock battle with the king. He was grumbling about how he never gets to leave the castle and such. What a surprisingly open personality he has. At this rate, we'll be calling each other by name soon. But a mock battle is no good, is what I thought. But he wouldn't listen. Seems like he's planning something. But I have no choice. I'll play along. I transformed into my human form. Since eating the orc disaster, my human form grew a bit. I'm no longer a child, but a young girl, around 150 centimeters in height. A bit more accomplished, maybe. Taking wooden swords in hand, we faced each other. Hakuro observed the match and called for it to start. Begin! That very moment, the king disappeared, escaping my perception completely. Dangerous. The moment I thought that, the wooden sword I held was hit out of my hand. The match was decided. I completely lost. So this is the Dwarf King, the power of the Hero King.
Listen, Rimuru, from the very beginning you didn't notice me approaching from the sky, did you? Though magic perception is a wonderful skill, but there are countless ways to slip outside of its sight. I anticipated what deception method you would use, and slipped past it. These are the basics of war. Concentrate harder. If you depend only on your abilities, you won't improve.
So that's why he did this. Satisfied, I thanked him.
Thank you, Gazelle. Next time we meet, it won't be this easy. So you say, youngster.
After our match ended, the monsters' cheers filled the city. They were very excited, to say the least. Benimaru, Soe, and Shion also seemed like they wanted to say something. Their faces were serious. Hakuro nodded with a happy expression on his face. I still have a long way to go. I finally learned that. The banquet continued long into the night, and the next day the Dwarf King Gazelle Dwargo and I officially signed the two treaties. History will know today as the day when the Monster City Tempest
was officially created. Oh, I seem to be dropping frames. Wow, there is a rather large crowd here. Hello, everybody.
40 to 50
We'll be
people
doing
in
one
the
more
room
chat.
and 30 people watching the stream.
Oh, hello,
63
everybody
exactly in
watching
the
the
room.
stream. Oh my, that's quite a lot. I'm going to take a quick respite, a drink, if you will, before I read the final chapter of the evening. That will be but a moment.
Mute your mic.
How you did?
He's taking a quick siesta.
Ooh. Alrighty then. Time for the final chapter of the evening. Chapter 47, A City's Specialty. Devil Grucius is a wolfman. But are you going, Winter? Oh, you can sit in the cushions if you wish. Yes, go for it. Yes, go for it. Devil Grucius is a wolfman. Valued for his excellent espionage abilities, he was assigned a secret mission by the demon lord Carrion. He was remembering his words.
Observe them, but take care to go unnoticed. If you see any other devils, extend the invitation to the Oni before them.
Devils other than himself? When he asked about that, Carrion added,
Clayman and Milim will be sending one of their subordinates there. Working together with them gives me the creeps, so do as I asked.
He said, averting his gaze.
Carry on, Summer.
Oh, hold on.
Carry on, Summer. Why have you averted your gaze? Could they be such troublesome opponents?
Upon hearing the question, Carrion was confused for a second, but his confusion quickly turned into a broad grin.
I see. You haven't heard of Milim, have you? Is that how it is? I see. All right, no problem. In that case, regarding Milim's subordinate, or rather, the one who refers to oneself as her subordinate, do not go against her. As long as she stays happy, all is good. But I have complete trust in you.
So he said. Grucius was thinking about the question he's ardently trying to dismiss. Milim most likely refers to the demon lord Milim Nava, a famous demon lord that even Grucius has heard of. She is indeed strong. By strength alone, she would be a match for Carrion Summer. The worst-case scenario, she would surpass him. Her personality can be described with 4 words: short-tempered, haughty, cruel, and egotistic. Nothing good is ever said about her. However, why should he fear her subordinate? It has been only 100 years since Grucius became a devil, so he naturally did not know. Not about Miller, at least. Those rumors were excluded. Soon, when he reached the meeting place, to be precise, he quickly regretted his ignorance. Devil Mulan was lamenting her misfortune. Working with other Demon Lord subordinates was bad enough. However, among them was Demon Lord Milim herself.
I bear responsibility for that outcome,
Demon Lord Clayman said.
But I don't have any disposable pawns other than yourself. Had I not lost Gelmudo, I would have sent him. But, well, nothing can be done about that, right? He went and died.
No further discussion would be held on this topic. Demon Lord Clayman, nicknamed the Marionette Master, someone who manipulates friends and subordinates like dolls. For him, the aforementioned matter is set in stone. And though Mulan was just called a disposable pawn, she lacked the willpower to resist. She had no choice but to accept. The Demon Lord named Milim she knew all too well. So Demon Lord Clayman gave her one order. Stall the other Demon Lords and find out about their weaknesses. Just that much. Since Milim was involved in this case, any further activity would be impossible. Mulan agreed. Demon Lord Milim is by no means stupid. She is called short-tempered and impudent, but that is not true. Moreover, she possesses an abnormal perception, so fooling her would prove difficult.
Thus, it would be best to not try to slip anything past her. But Mulan had no reason to be vigilant toward Milim's subordinate. And yet, she was still on her guard against Milim. She understood why she should stay vigilant. Demon Lord Clayman had conveyed it to her a little while ago. Chances are, Demon Lord Carrion also knew. The reason was, oh, so you are to be my comrades, huh? I am Demon Lord Carrion's subordinate. Oh, God, wrong voice.
Oh, so you are to be my compatriots, huh? I am Demon Lord Carrion's subordinate, Crucius.
Pleased to meet you. I am Demon Lord Clayman's Mulan. I'm Milim. Milim's subordinate was nowhere to be found. That's how it was. And thus, the three gathered at the rendezvous point. Instead of sending a subordinate, she came herself. Scene change. The treaty between the Dwarf Kingdom and the Monsters country essentially testified bilateral cooperation. The fact that their two representatives signed the treaty ascertains its validity. Oh, God, words. Could a treaty between two countries be established this easily? Since that exceeds my knowledge, I asked.
You don't know.
That's not a problem. Since I swear by the gods, spirits, and sacred ancestors, I cannot falsely sign. And you aren't human, are you? Though the contract's authority. But through the contract's authority, should you lie, you'd be erased, you know. And received such a nonsensical response. So I asked Great Sage for an explanation. Apparently, monsters can't lie. I was completely oblivious to that very important fact. We cannot convey what we believe to be a lie. However, that does not mean we can't fool people. Omitting facts, for example, or leading them to believe something by revealing only specific facts. However, in case of contracts, lying through the aforementioned methods becomes essentially impossible. Well, if you can talk yourself out of the lie, then no problem. But if you publicly declare a lie, your existence will be erased. It's a rule pertaining to every monster. However, monsters born through birth are not always bound by this rule, and sometimes are capable of telling lies. Goblins can lie freely. On the other hand, high monsters and demons exemplify this rule, and are famous for being bound by contracts. Demons don't tell lies. Although they are often called sly, they are actually a rather pure race. And when people come to believe this, they grow negligent, and a demon comes to snatch away their soul. Even though you are a monster, you don't know this. Rimuru, aren't you strange?
I've been born not too long ago. I'm still in the process of learning.
Is that so? Well, whatever. Please don't accidentally erase your entire country after I went to the trouble of recognizing it. Your rule assures the safety of the entire forest. I beg you.
Well, we've just finished building this city, and we don't intend to lose it, so we'll do our best. And thus we signed the treaty into effect. I still don't know all of the world's alphabet, but I can at least write my name. I learned that much when I was bored. The moment I wrote my name, the document began to glow and split in two. The paper, it seems, was made by the ghost researchers. To annul it, you would need to burn both of the copies at the same time. However, as long as the other party is living, destroying the document is impossible. It would merely restore itself to how it was before. We tried that once, and it was exactly as they said. Thus, the contract was complete. This contract should be kept between the two countries, and while openly declaring it is not a problem per se, it kind of defeats the purpose. There is no need to let the world know about it. The Dwarf King accepted his copy, pleased.
I'll also leave this to you,
he said, and took out a crystal as large as a fist. When I accepted it,
that's a communication crystal. Ask Bester about its installation. Use it in case of an emergency, and stay in good health.
He explained and saddled the Pegasus, and looking at Bester,
Bester, you should research to your heart's content here. King, this time I'll live up to your expectations,
he said, and nodded in response.
Farewell,
he added, and flew off. He suddenly came and hurriedly left, just like a storm. Hey, Kaijin, is it okay for your country to have such a free-willed individual as a king?
Who knows? But he's ruled for many hundreds of years and has plenty of achievements, so it should be fine. But never in my time in the court have I seen him move around so selfishly.
Oh, well, I'm the last person who can criticize him. Right, I too am planning to run off to some human village. I'm not planning to say something that will limit my ability to move around.
Leaving the conversation at that, we left the clearing. The treaty documents I deposited into my stomach. Since our defenses aren't perfect as of yet, having it stolen would make for a poor story. Would it reappear if I were to lose it is an experiment I will not conduct. And thus, we successfully established a treaty with the Dwarven Kingdom. Now then, it's about time I consider the lesson Gazelle taught me yesterday. Who is this?
Rimuru-sama. Sorry, Rimuru-dono, Kaijin-dono, I humbly beg your forgiveness. Would it be possible for me to work here?
Bester interrupted my thoughts. Now that he mentions it, he did almost entrap us. I had completely forgotten. I'll be frank. Can you follow my orders? I forbid discrimination against any race of monsters. Are you okay with that?
Of course. I have reflected on my mistakes. In the first place, it has led me to feel envious of Kaijin-dono. I will not repeat that mistake. I want to continue my beloved research with all my strength. I would never betray that wish.
As for me, I would only benefit from an excellent research. As for me, I would only benefit from an excellent researcher. If anything were to happen, I'll take... God damn it, I did do it right. I'll take responsibility for him. He added, come on, next page. Sorry. It's getting to that time of the night where my computer no longer wishes to work. Come on. Okay.
So, Rimuru-tana, please forgive him.
Kaijin said so. Well, rather than me, it would be you, Kaijin, who would be troubled. Well, if you're fine with it, Kaijin, I have no complaints. Pleased to have you, Bester. Thus, Bester became our new comrade. And because he became our new comrade, we made a discovery which came to be our city's specialty. Scene change. Worst day ever. How many sighs has the devil Grucius suppressed until now? Remembering the demon lord Carrion's broad grin only evoked anger. He knew, that bastard. Actually, no, I should have known myself, or so he thought. The worst day ever. Who would have guessed that riding on his back would be a demon lord herself? Oh, this is the worst day ever. The moment they met. Hey, Shorty, how dare you call yourself with a demon lord? Sorry.
Hey, Shorty, how dare you call yourself with a demon lord's name? I won't tell your master, so name yourself at once,
he had said. And the second he said it, he was knocked unconscious. Grucius lamented his misfortune. In the first place, he had never seen the demon lord Milim. Having beautiful glossy blonde hair tied with twin tails and a short stature, anyone would mistake her for some random kid. No one would expect her to be extremely strong. Sometimes they put really weird consonants in it. Though she was making a really cute face, the moment he called her a shorty, her expression changed. Her round eyes immediately turned sharp, and her lips twisted into a cruel smile. Then his consciousness faded. After getting hit a second time, he was out cold. And that brings us to the present situation. The other devil, Mulan, ignored him. Worst day ever. Grucius was reflecting. Not to judge a devil by their looks is common sense, so why did he commit such a grave error? Mulan must have known. Right before Grucius was hit, he saw her eyes open wide, as if screaming, "What the hell are you saying, idiot?" He would probably say the same thing had he known. Honestly, the worst day ever. If only he was told about this. However, he was told not to go against whoever would call herself as Milim's subordinate. But who would have thought that she wouldn't call herself subordinate, but openly name herself? Is Milim honest to a fault? No. It was too late to have such thoughts. Since then, Grucius made sure to never judge a devil by their cover. And now, he's in his wolf form, running through the forest. Thanks to his regenerative abilities, he somehow endured. After getting knocked around, he was then ordered to let her ride. Of course, he never even considered refusing. Mulan is running by his side. For the devils, this much wouldn't tire them at all, and thus the three came upon a certain city. Scene change. We've been busy continuing developing our restorative medicine. Well, I doubt you can call trying to lower its performance development. However, could we dilute a single restorative pill of 98% purity with 10 times the amount of water to create a high-class 60% medicine? We tried to do so, but it proved impossible. It turned into a low-grade 20% medicine.
If you used a high-quality pill, the purity would only go up by 10%. And then, Bester made an unexpected discovery. He had wanted to see our Hippoctigras farm, so I guided him to the cave of the seal. He was scared of riding the Star Wolf at first, but quickly got used to it, and thus we entered the cave. Gabel welcomed us at the entrance and showed us in. After observing our cultivation, Bester went to look at the underground lake.
Remember, Dono, Hippoctigras can be cultivated due to the high magic energy density of this lake, right? So what if we tried diluting the restorative pill not with normal water, but with this water?
I see. We should test this theory at once. And so we did. We were able to produce medium-grade, 40% medicine. Of course, with a high-quality pill, the purity rose to 50%. How wonderful. A great success. We also tested just how much we could dilute it. From a single pill, we could create 20 medium-grade medicines. Nodding to Kaijin, I gave him a high five. We've succeeded. The first specialty of the Monster City Tempest, and that's how we made it. Bester seemed like he was having a lot of fun handling the grass with Gabel. Perhaps they are rather compatible. Huh? Aren't you, chummy? Bester, how about we make you a room here? I had meant it as a joke, but...
Would you really? To think that I would be also permitted to reside in this cave? Oh, it has the perfect atmosphere for...
Mad
science experiments,
he said, his eyes sparkling.
I am free.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure? Could you please be silent, sir? Are you sure? There are B-plus rank centipedes around here, you know.
No problem. I may not look it, but I've indulged in sorcery, and I'm rather good at it.
I looked at Kaijin, and he was shaking his head. A lie? As long as you don't regret it, we'll be preparing a room for you.
No problem. I said, Gabeldono is here after all.
I see. If Gabel is here, Bester won't be attacked, huh? Satisfied. Gabel, can I leave Bester to you?
Please do. I am here, and I will also assign 2 of my subordinates.
How reliable he has gotten. I still worry about him getting a big head, but I guess he was strong to begin with. But he seems to have calmed down recently, and gets along with Bester pretty well. So I should just leave it to him. And so we had built Bester's research lab in the cave. Gabel had 2 of his subordinates guard the room in the cave, and the result was actually rather pleasant. If this is to become his lab, we probably don't need to include any life necessities, but we do need to figure out how he will be making the trip to the cave all the time. While I was thinking these things,
Rimuru-dono, can I set up a magical circle here? It would be difficult to create inside these doors, but it is possible outside. Should I set it up?
I had mentioned before that I want to have a magic circle at the place where I defeated the Black Snake. A transportation magic system circle, to be precise. If you write 2 identical circles, you can move between them. Well, I guess it wouldn't be inaccurate to say that I'm coming to like sorcery. Kaijin was also surprised, hearing Bester explain this. Thus, as long as monsters won't be appearing in the middle of our village, I decided to permit it. Bester then drew a circle inside his house, and another inside the cave, and thus he solved the transportation problem. But wow, transportation circles are convenient. Of course, I had him immediately teach me, and after Gabel and the rest also learned it, we were able to move easily between the city and the cave. Bester is an unexpectedly useful dwarf. As for the guy himself, he was just engrossed, fantasizing about all the research he will do. Since I left some restorative pills and demon steel with him, he can continue researching those on his own. I've also introduced him to Kurobi and Shuna, which started another long conversation. Rather than politics, this guy is made for science. He seemed very boring when he was obsessed with political power. I guess it corrupts you, but truly, people should be doing whatever they enjoy, as long as that doesn't cause trouble for others. And so, after spending some time with Bester, he naturally became one of our comrades. Scene change. Ending his meditation, he opened his eyes. In the middle of the dimly lit room of a high-class inn, the Dwarf King sat. One that the espionage department's leader stayed at, using an alias, of course. The king laughed. It's been a long time since he's had such an interesting experience.
King, are you in good health?
Suddenly, a shadow appeared nearby. He knew right away. It was one of his spies. The fact that he slipped out of the palace and was now here probably caused a great commotion at the palace. In the first place, he has 100 people as his personal guard. For them to have let someone in or out undetected is simply preposterous. They needed it to be restrained, so the king thought.
No problem.
He answered briefly. There could have been no problems. Then, though it's been a long time since he last used his skill, he used spirit possession on the spy, and let the espionage leader know. You will return to the royal capital, taking the Pegasus with you. Disappear into the shadows as you always do after that.
Aye, as you command.
A typical exchange. Oh, come on. Click, next page. Aha. His trusted confidant, espionage department's leader, with the same face and the same body, a clone created by the ghost researchers. That was a secret shared only between the two of them. Unlike towards a stranger, the king could perfectly use spirit possession on this spy. In case of some emergency, this was his trump card. The dwarf king Gazelle Dwargo was remembering yesterday's match with the slime. That slime will become very strong. Just with reaction speed alone, he was able to receive my sword. Gazelle did not intend to hit the sword out of Rimuru's hand. He intended to land a hit on Rimuru's head. And that hit, whether he fell behind with the attack or not, Rimuru was able to react to. How amusing. He thought from the bottom of his heart. What will become of this treaty, he did not know. However,
don't disappoint me, slime Rimuru.
Gazelle felt the approaching end, the era of peace. And that, my dear friends, is the end of that chapter. And the end of the reading session. Thank you all once more for coming.
Woot.
You're beautiful.
As per the normal custom, would we all like to take a photo?
Oh, I teleported.
All right, let's go.
How you doing?
Was good.
Would everybody like to come down onto the stage?
Oh, I'm lagging high.
Shadow, could I get you to... Oh, no. You are.